Me, Dolores, the pastor's daughter. Listen, I have missed you guys. Do you hear me? Like, I have truly missed you guys. I have not gone live in a very long time on this channel, and it's for personal reasons. I've noticed that, I noticed about, I guess it was about 2 months ago, it seems like, since the last time I went live, that, there was some things that I needed to work on. So I took a bit of time off so that, I could work on those things and kind of, get myself together, get my thoughts together, get my mind right. And so what I have been doing is really working um on how, first of all, like really working on myself, okay? But also like really working on how I could really be a benefit to the community that I love so much, and that is community of daughters. And so I created a group on Facebook that's called the Kingdom Code, and it stands for a community of daughters everywhere. And so I just want to give you guys like a brief, um, I guess, overview of what my thought process is before we get into today's topic. Today's topic, by the way, is can you divorce your parents, and 7 signs, okay? 7 signs, you guys, that it is time to let your toxic parents go. It's time to divorce them. But before we get into that, I want to talk to you guys about the community that I love so much that I just mentioned, which is a group of daughters. And so I had this thought that we're all someone's daughter. And so, I mean, as you can see, my audience, the audience that I speak to, are women. And it's women from ages 25 to 65 that I really serve, but I really have a passion for teenage women as well, teenage daughters. And so I have a passion for that group. And I realized, like, I guess it was about a year ago, that if we change the the way we describe women, right? Instead of saying woman, especially like in this day and age when everybody wants to be a woman who wasn't born a woman, okay? Listen, but that's a whole other topic for all the time, okay? Well, if we just take that out of it, right? Take female out of it and just say daughter, then I think it's like it gives us like a sense of understanding that the person that we may be interacting with, right? That's a woman, a female, whatever you want to say, that's really someone's daughter, right? So, like, it almost like it calls for you to have a different type of compassion, a different type of empathy, a different type of feeling towards that person. And so I wrote down some stuff that says we're all somebody's daughter, and it's really just kind of embracing the power of connection and shared experiences that we have with each other, regardless of where we're from, regardless of our race, regardless of our religion, like regardless of all those things. At the end of the day, what unites us as women is that we are somebody's daughter. And so, in a world that's filled with diversity, diverse individuals, and especially in this day and time where it seems like, they could take the whole title of woman and assess it to a person who is not a woman, right? It's important to remember that behind every face, every story, and every journey, there is a commonality, right? There's a common thread that unites us. And that is that we are all somebody's daughter. So, regardless of our backgrounds, our experiences, our circumstances, we share a fundamental bond, right? And that is a bond that transcends borders and generations. It's a bond that should remind us of our interconnectedness, right? Like the power of empathy and compassion and understanding. And so when I created the group, my thought process is that I want to explore the significance of like recognizing and embracing that universal truth, right? That we are all someone's daughter. And how can we transform the way we perceive and the way we relate to one another in light of that shared truth? And I guess when you really think about it that way, right, even if you are a man that is listening to this podcast right now, and you think maybe you have a daughter, and maybe you would want someone to look at your daughter, and when they interact with her, when they handle her, when they talk to her, that they think this is someone's daughter. And so that I must approach this person with a level of compassion and empathy and understanding that maybe I didn't have when I considered that person to be a female or a girl or a woman. We are somebody's daughter, and we should be treated as such. Okay. So let's get into today's topic. And today's topic, we are going to be talking about divorcing your toxic parent. Okay. Now, obviously, you guys know that I have gone through it. Okay. Gone through it on a whole personal level with my father, who, I feel is quite toxic. You guys have really kind of seen me like embarrass myself when it comes to my father. I've pleaded, with him to really like change his ways and to, really like um just get rid of that toxicity that is within him, like just to bring it to his awareness, to hold the mirror up to him and say, hey, these are the behaviors that you are engaging in that are toxic. And through that process, I realized that it's more than just me, right? It's more than just me who has a toxic parent in their lives. And sometimes it gets to a point where it's like, I have got to do something, right? I have got to sever ties. I've got to establish boundaries. I've got to figure this thing out because this person is really affecting me in a way that is hazardous to my health, right? And so I wrote down some signs that I think that we should consider. And this is a podcast series that I wanted to start that really talks about toxic relationships in any dynamic. But we're going to talk about the dynamic of a parent and an adult child, because guess what, like that's one of those topics that a lot of people don't have, and really like a lot of people don't want to have it, right? Like honestly, I don't want to have it. I don't want this to really be my reality, but the fact is that it's my reality. So when we think about like family relationships, like they're meant to be a source of love and support and nurturing. But unfortunately, not all parents are capable of providing a positive influence in our lives. And sometimes it can become so toxic and overwhelming that the best decision for our own well being is to divorce our toxic parent. So, like, as we talk about it in this video, I want us to explore the 7 signs that indicate it may be time, right? It may be time to take this step. And it's a courageous step, and it's a bold step, and it is a scary step, but it's a step towards liberation and healing. Okay, so let's go into sign number 1: emotional and psychological abuse. Okay. And let me know, you guys, if you can hear me. If you don't mind, just putting something in the chat that lets me know that y'all can hear me okay. Y'all know it's been a minute since your girl has streamed. So, I might be a little rusty. Okay. I might be a little rusty here. So if you don't mind, let me know you can hear me okay. Just give me a thumbs up in the chat. Give me a hey girl. Give me something, okay, you guys? You can hear me okay. Okay. Just give me a thumbs up. When I did my check, it sounds good. Okay, all right. Can y'all hear me okay? Seems like I can hear myself. So, okay, all right. Okay, good. Okay, all right. So let's get into it. Okay. So sign number 1 is emotional and psychological abuse. Thank you. Thank you so much. You can hear me. Great. Okay, good deal. If your parent is or consistently engages in emotional and psychological abuse, now that's something like belittling, right? Gaslighting, Now, at this point, you guys, as much as gaslighting has been talked about, it's like we don't even really need to go through a definition of it. But really, that's when a parent like denies your reality. They deny like what you've been through. Like, no, you didn't. That it wasn't like that. I didn't mean that when you know good and well they did, or it's a shared experience. It's like, I know we were both there. Like we both know what happened, right? And then sometimes you have parents who belittle you. And that can even come across like when, you're a parent yourself and you have a parent that is belittling like your parenting, right? Or the relationship that you have with your children, or you disciplining your children and stuff like that. So that can, come across in that way. Or you may have a parent who's manipulating your emotions. That's like a clear sign, you guys, that that is a very toxic relationship, especially when you have brought these things to your parents' attention, yet they continue to do them, or they gaslight you when you bring it to their attention, right? So emotional abuse that erodes like your self-worth, and it leaves you like with emotional scars. So sometimes you have to think, okay, maybe if I divorce my parent, then that might be like a necessary step to protect my mental health and kind of like reclaim who I am, or like my sense of self. And if you have grown up with a parent who has been this way for a very long time, then or for your whole life, then your sense of self has to be established, right? It's not like you can just say, well, I just want to get back to myself, right? If you have a toxic parent, this person's been like this, then finding your sense of self means that you have to kind of like start from scratch and figure it out. So sign number 2, it's a lack of respect for your boundaries. Lack of respect for your boundaries. Healthy relationships require boundaries. And I know, a lot of people have looked at that like that's a bad word, that you have boundaries. But in actuality, that is a sign of a healthy relationship. And if your parent consistently disregards or they violate your boundaries, then it could be detrimental to you, right? And your well being. So your boundaries should be respected and honored. And if your parent is continuously failing to honor your boundaries and respect your boundaries, it might be time to sever ties. I'm sorry, you guys, if you hear noise in the background. My husband is out cutting grass and blowing and all of that. So if you hear it, I apologize. But let's just continue. Number 3 is manipulation and control. Toxic parents often seek to control and manipulate their children. So preventing them, and sometimes they'll prevent you from living your own life, making your own decisions, and sometimes they'll use guilt, they'll use fear, they'll use emotional coercion and manipulate and trying to maintain control over you. So like you have to recognize these patterns of manipulation and understanding the impact that it has on you, and how severing that tie may be crucial to having healthy relationships with everyone else in your life, right? Now, I also want you to keep in mind that as we're going through this list of behaviors that are signs that you may need to divorce your toxic parent, if you are a parent or soon to be parent or thinking about being a parent, I want you to consider these things within yourself as well, right? Because sometimes we repeat patterns that we have grown up with, or sometimes we are really unaware that we are being toxic, or we are exhibiting toxic behaviors. So even as we are looking at our parents in this situation, I want to challenge you to really look at yourself as well and make a determination that you'll change those behaviors within yourself, or that you will be aware of those and determine that you will not do that to your children. Because you know what, your children could be like, you know what, I want to divorce my parent. They be talking about you, child. Don't be the one. Don't be that guy. Okay. Okay. So unresolved childhood trauma is number 4. So if you have unresolved childhood trauma, resulting from your parents' actions, like their neglect, their abuse of you, it may be necessary for you to distance yourself, right? In order to heal. So continuing to subject yourself to their presence, it can really like impede your healing process and really hinder your personal growth. And keep in mind too, as we're going through this list of signs that it's time to divorce your parents, also realize that a divorce does not have to be a permanent solution to these issues. Like in the case of unresolved childhood trauma, you may be in therapy right now, but you're noticing that when I go back around my parent, this is like setting me back. It's setting me back in my therapy. It's like it's hindering me from like really moving forward because I'm continuously putting myself in their same space. And so it may be necessary for you to divorce for a certain amount of time until you have really like gained that strength to be resistant to um any type of progress prevention or regressing or anything like that. Okay. Number 5, continuous disregard for your well-being. A toxic parent will prioritize their own needs above yours, their own desires above yours, and your well being. And so, if they are consistently putting you in harm's way, neglecting your needs, or they fail to provide a safe and nurturing environment, then it may be necessary for you to divorce them. Now, also keep in mind here that you may need to do this for the sake of your own children, right? Which will be your parents' grandchildren. If your parents are constantly putting your kids in an unsafe situation, an unsafe environment, and they are prioritizing their own well being to the detriment of your children, their grandchildren, right? Then it may be necessary for you to sever ties in that situation. Okay. Number 6, unhealthy patterns just keep on keeping on, right? They are just repeating these unhealthy patterns. So if you notice that there are toxic patterns that are being repeated in your relationship with your parent, despite your efforts to address them, like you've tried to address them, you've tried to resolve them, that might be an indication that the toxicity is just too much, right? It's deeply ingrained, and that person is incapable, that parent is incapable, excuse me, of changing. And so in that situation, you may need to divorce your parent so that you just break that cycle, right? You hear people all the time talk about like they're trying to break generational curses. And so sometimes you may find yourself in faced with this situation where you have to say, okay, in order for me to break this generational curse, I have to divorce my parent for a time or for good. Okay. And that's in an effort to have healthier relationships, and healthier patterns in your life and in other relationships that you will have. Okay. Number 7, there's a lack of personal growth and happiness. So ultimately, if your relationship with your toxic parent leaves you experiencing like this lack of growth, right? This uneasy, this unhappy, this sense of not being fulfilled, then maybe it's time for you to consider divorcing them. Um, we all deserve to live in a toxic free environment, right? We deserve to be surrounded by people who have our best interest at heart, that have good intentions towards us. And not only that their intentions are good, but that those actually play out in their actions. And so sometimes you have to think like, okay, if this is just like I'm just not advancing, I'm just not progressing, I'm just not, really like experiencing any growth because of this relationship, then it's possible that you may need to divorce your parent. Okay. I know that this is, a very tough topic, and when you think about divorcing your toxic parent, it's a difficult decision, but it may be necessary, right? These are necessary steps, like to take towards like reclaiming your life and your well-being and your happiness. So when you recognize these signs, these 7 signs that we talked about today, which is emotional and psychological abuse, lack of respect for boundaries, manipulation and control, unresolved childhood trauma, continuous disregard for your well being, repeating unhealthy patterns, the lack of personal growth, like it can just like it helps you to really just kind of evaluate your situation and make an informed choice, like using your discernment in these situations. And remember that you have the power, right? You have the power to create the life that you want, a life that is filled with love, that is healing, that you are progressing in your healing journey, and that you are making healthy and authentic connections with other people. So it's time, you guys, that we really like prioritize, or daughters rather, not you guys, but it's important, y'all, that we prioritize our well-being, right? That we seek support from trusted people when we need to, and that we take the necessary steps towards like really liberating ourselves from these toxic relationships. That is all I have as far as the 7 signs that it's time to divorce a toxic parent. But I do want to share a little bit of a story with you guys, that this is where I am right now. Um, I have considered divorcing my father for a few years now. So it's not a decision that I have come to, hastily, or um, that I haven't given it its due diligence and given it time and grace to really allow my father and our relationship to see if it was salvageable, if there was any hope for moving forward. And so, I challenge you guys to really like do the same. To really just evaluate and give it the time and the space that it needs, right? And so, what you will see as we move forward with this channel, with this podcast, is that we are going to go over a lot of things as it relates to divorce and toxicity. And it's not just in a parent and child relationship or a parent and adult child relationship. This is going to be toxic relationships overall. But I wanted to start off with this particular one because, first of all, it's something that I'm going through currently, right? And it's one of those topics that a lot of people just really don't want to address, and that it's just kind of like one of those things that we just don't consider. And especially because, like, when you say divorce, it's like, well, wait a minute, I'm not married to my parent. So how am I gonna divorce them? That doesn't even really make sense. But when you think about divorcing, right, it's really just severing a tie, right? Making a determination that you will not continue with a relationship that no longer serves you, that is unhealthy for you, that is detrimental to your progress, your healing, and other relationships that you have. And so, I found myself right there, right here at this very space where I am going through an actual public divorce of my father, and I'm going to be doing that right here on my channel, so that it really like empowers other people, not just daughters, but other people who may find themselves in a situation where they have to sever ties with their toxic parent as well. So keep in mind as we move forward with this series that you may find yourself not necessarily having to divorce your parent, but you may have to divorce your friend. You may have to divorce your cousin. You may have to divorce your coworker, you know? So the whole objective here is that you need to divorce toxicity, saying that I will not move forward in relationships with anybody if they are toxic, if it is unhealthy for me, if it is detrimental to my progress, if it clouds my judgment or causes me to make bad decisions, or any of those things, or if it prevents me from having healthy relationships with other people, if I keep getting in trouble, you know, there are friends of ours. It's just like every time I'm with that person, I get in trouble. Every time I'm with that person, I drink too much. I make bad decisions. They always like cause me, or like we're always gossiping. And it's just like once I leave that situation, I'm feeling drained and I'm feeling, like I just have done like the worst, you know? And so I challenge you guys to think about it even in a broader sense. We're starting here with toxic parents. Think about it in your particular situation, whatever resonates with you. If you are in a toxic relationship with anybody, then you need to consider divorcing yourself from that toxic relationship. Okay, you guys. I love you guys. And I also, just one update really quick. I was accepted to Lisa Nichols' transformational transformational training program. And so I have decided that I wanted to start taking on clients, coaching clients now. So if you are interested, especially if you are someone who has suffered and is healing from spiritual abuse, toxic relationships, childhood trauma, any of those things, and my story resonates with you, then I am very interested in working with you. So I want you to reach out to me. And of course, I forgot to put my contact information in the chat. Who does that? You can reach me at this email here. It's right there at the bottom of your screen, thepastorsdaughter20@gmail.com. Also, let me put it in the chat real quick. Another way that you can reach me, because I'm very interested in working with you. So let's set up a consultation. Let's chat about how I can be of assistance to you. Um, in your healing journey, and breaking free of these toxic relationships and really just reclaiming your health, reclaiming your life, taking your power back. What am I putting in the chat, you guys? Okay, Dolores at Kingdom Code Academy. Okay, kingdomcodeacademy.com. Okay, so I want you guys to reach out and let me know. Also, I am offering a I call it the healing to healer, right? Because you guys know, like, I experienced, you guys have seen like my story unfold. And so I have experienced a lot of things, right out here in the public. I really believe that part of what was powerful in my story is that I was healing right in front of you. A lot of times we go away, right? And we do our healing and we come back and we're like empowered and we're great and everything is all good. But you didn't really get to see the ugly parts. You didn't really get to see all the pain that was involved in all of in the healing process. And so I want to really work with people who are not afraid to heal out loud. You're not one who just wants to go away and heal, but that's part of your story. That's part of what you offer people to help them heal, is to heal out loud. And so if you are someone who wants to become an author, a life coach, and just a transformational leader, then I want to work with you. So reach out to me again at that same email that I put in the chat, and I will. Hey, Woman Sphere. Hey, beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you. I think it's a great topic as well, and it's something that we rarely want to talk about, because we don't really want to talk about the toxic dynamics that happen between parents and their adult children. And so, I experienced this myself. And so, I feel really compelled to talk about this stuff. So, the next podcast, we'll be talking about a different aspect of divorcing your toxic parent. And if, it's time for you to really consider making that separation and really just severing ties, maybe it's for a time, right? Maybe it's just a temporary divorce, or maybe it's a permanent divorce. But either way, just know that you have a community here that of people who understand and who have gone through this process as well. Okay. So I am going to let you all go. But in the meantime, like the video, and shoot me out an email if you want to, so we can chat and let me know how I can be of service to you. Okay. I love you guys. Bye bye for now.